Hi students, welcome back to this channel English Literature with Adam. In this video, I am going to discuss one of the most amazing and interesting topics in English literature, and that is the humanism. As when we see the development of the literature, we come across the Renaissance period, which was roughly there in 15th and 16th century. So during the Renaissance, we see that there was a there was the revival of the learning, and at the same time there was the revival of the humanity as well. So there were new definitions, new ideas and discourses related to the humanity were emerged, and this new humanism becomes a cornerstone in understanding the literary humanities. As traditional human, other Renaissance human keeps the human being at the center because of its dignity, its agency, its rationality, and its potential. But since then, the thoughts related to the human definition kept changing. And the very definition and the orientation of the human is not natural, but it is the social and cultural construct. And it shows a historical spectrum that itself raises the question on the very category of the human, that what is the human place, what is the human's position in the society, what defines the humanity, what is essential humanity. And all these questions have been traditionally and historically debated and attended by different literary stakeholders and the philosophers. So in this video, I would be discussing some of the different forms of the Renaissance humanism, or simply humanism, starting from the Renaissance, and how it has been completely changed in the 21st century in the age of science and technology. So we see that during the Renaissance, there is the revival of classical Greek and Roman learning, and this age puts emphasis on the humanist or the humanism only. And it also celebrates the human because it is a dignified subject, it is a reason subject, and it has the potential of the thinking, of the feeling. And Francesco Petrarch is considered as the father of the humanism. Here we also see the Erasmus, Desiderius Erasmus, and then Giovanni Pico della Mirandola from the Medici family. So we see that the Renaissance human is unique because it possesses the free will and the ability to shape their destiny. In William Shakespeare's play Hamlet, Hamlet praises his father, saying that what what a piece of work a man is, honorable in thought, brilliant in actions. So this shows that these are the qualities which make a human species piece of man quite unique, rare, and supreme. And this very idea reflects the Renaissance, that how it admires the human intellect and form while also hinting at the existential doubt. In poetry, for example, we see the Astrophil and Stella by Philip Sidney. There shows self-conscious emotional subjectivity that becomes a hallmark of humanist inwardness. In the novel, for example, Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, Miguel celebrates the imagination yet critiques the misguided idealism, revealing the limits of the human agency. So, in this way, the Renaissance humanism celebrates humanity, but literature already begins to question its stability. In the Enlightenment humanism, particularly during the 17th and 18th century, we see that there is a social contract theory by different philosophers like Rousseau, Voltaire, Immanuel Kant. So they all believe that there is a reason, there is a science, and there is a progress. And they emphasize on individual rights and the rational society. And during this enlightened humanism, they say that the human should rely on the reason rather than tradition or authority. In an essay on man by Alexander Pope, for example, we see that Alexander Pope says that the proper study of mankind is man. So again, another definition is set that human has some unique characteristics. So in order to study the mankind or humankind, we need to study the human only itself. Because it believes that the human is isolated with the animals and the technology, and the human's characteristics, human attributions are quite unique. They are rare. They can't be given to the animals or the technology. So this shows a direct articulation of enlightenment, human-centered rationalism. Another satirical novel by Gulliver Travel by Jonathan Swift, critiques the human pride and irrationality, exposing the limits of enlightenment optimism. So it shows that the human is misusing its rationality, its intellectuality, and human is giving harm to the nature, to the society. So human should rethink about its enlightenment, about its rationality and the intellectuality. In a drama by the marriage of Figaro by Pierre Bomber Cais, we see that the Pierre advocates the social equality and the rational justice that challenges the aristocracy. So this way, the Renaissance has provided the base for the humanism, and later this enlightenment promotes and critiques that Renaissance reason and intellectuality, revealing tensions within the humanism. The next we have the secular humanism, that is between the 19th and 20th century, and it also critiques ethics without reliance on the religion. It also emphasizes on the science, rationality, and the human welfare. And there is the American Humanist Association that particularly deals with this secular humanism, and it separates the religion from the human society and the nationality, and it emphasizes on the science, rationality, of the human welfare. So it says that the human can lead meaningful life based on reason and the ethical responsibility alone. In the novel The Middle March by George Eliot, we see that Eliot explores the morality that is grounded in human relationships rather than the divine authority. And the same is seen in the Matthew Arnold's Tower Beach, where Arnold reflects the decline of the religious faith and the need for the human solidarity. So this secular humanism believes that there is the need of the human relationships, human solidarity, reasoning, logic, science, and scientific attitude, rather than completely believing on the divine authority, on the God or the religion. And this secular humanism shifts the moral center from God to human responsibility and the empathy. In the Marxist humanism, for example, we see that Karl Marx focuses on the alienation, labor, and the class struggle, and it critiques the capitalism as the dehumanizing. And Marxist approach shows that how the human fulfillment is impossible under the exploitative system, because there are the bourgeois, there are the proletariat. So proletariat always suppress and subjugate the bourgeois. Upper class always subjugates the lowers. And this way, that the human fulfillment of equality, opportunity is impossible under this exploitative system. And the same is seen in the Hard Times by Charles Dickens, where he shows how the industrial capitalism reduces humans to the mechanical units. Also, The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck emphasizes the collective human dignity and the economic suffering. For example, in Mother Courage and Her Children by Brecht, war and capitalism intersect to commodify the human life. So there, war, capitalism, and the money becomes the more important than the common human life. Human lives are kind of commodity on their death. The capitalists and the money. So for Mother Courage, she wants to become a good mother and also to become a capitalist, but she is neither the capitalist nor the good mother. She remains in between, or a successful mother. And in poetry by Langston Hughes, we see that it highlights the racial and economic injustice, foregrounding the collective struggle. So Marxism grounds the human in material and economic realities, and says that there is an imbalance in society on the basis of socio-economic conditions, and under that, the equality, the respect, and dignity is impossible to achieve by the humans. Next, we have the existential humanism, because in 20th century, after the World War First, we see that there is a philosophy, that is the existential philosophy, that believes that we should rethink about the motive and the purpose of the life. So various thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre, Simon de Beauvoir, they rethink about the human purpose and the ideas that led the whole universe into the World War First. And they say that the human life can be purposeful with the right action, with the right decisions. And their core idea is that existence precedes the essence. That our life can make the essence in our life through the right action, through the right direction, through the right approach. And human define themselves through these choices. Because the war is fought by the human, also the helping the people is also chosen by human. So there are the two different options for the human. One is the destruction, other is the development. So what the human wants, it is completely up to it. In The Stranger by Albert Camus, for example, we see this existential philosophy where the protagonist depicts and shows the emotional detachment and the absurd existence. And in Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, we say again that Didi and the Gogo, their human life appears purposeless and repetitive. And they say that nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes. It's awful. And in the poetry of T.S. Eliot, for example, we see that in the prologue, T.S. Eliot shows the fragmentation, anxiety, and indecisiveness. And this shows that the existential humanism shifts from confidence to uncertainty and the burden freedom. Next, we have the liberal humanism, and its key features are the belief on the universal human nature. And it believes that everybody has its own human nature, everybody has its own attitude, and we must respect these all differences within individuals. So literature reflects this timeless moral truth, which we see in the King Lear by William Shakespeare, that explores the universal suffering, justice, and the humanity. And King Lear's way of justice is quite different than others. And in Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, again we see that there is a focus on the moral growth and the rational judgment, that we can make the decisions in our life, but we must have the rational judgment, the rational capacity. And in William Wordsworth poetry, we again see that it emphasizes the shared emotional and the spiritual experience. And this way, this liberal humanism treats literature as a reflection of universal human truths, though later theories critique this universality. Next, we have the post-humanism that starts in late 20th century and still continued in 21st century. And its key thinkers are Donna Haraway and Catherine Hales. And its features are that it challenges the human centrality that was given during the Renaissance humanism, that human was completely made anthropocentric, and it blurs the boundaries between the humans, machines, animals, and where the Donna Haraway gives us the cyborg, that is a mixture of the machines, humans, and the animals. In the Never Let Me Go, for example, by Kazuo Ishiguro, there are the organs which are created just to donate and sell in the market to earn the money. So there, the human beings are created in order to donate their organs, and this way they are turned into the commodity. And this novel questions whether the clones possess the human identity or rights, because those newly created humans, whether they are considered as a human or not. And in Oryx and Crate by Margaret Atwood, again we see that it depicts the genetically engineered future. In the drama RUR by Carol Kappa, we see that it introduces the artificial beings challenging human uniqueness. And in the poetry also by Jory Graham, we see that it reflects the ecological entanglement and the non-human perspectives. So this way, the post-human destabilizes the human, presenting it as fluid, hybrid, and technologically mediated. So let us see a comparative overview that during the Renaissance, we have very dignified, rational human being, a human identity, and it is presented in the Hamlet or the Don Quixote, where Hamlet says that one brilliant piece of work a man is for the father. In Enlightenment, we see that the human is rational reformer, that human has the rationality, but its rationality should be reformed. And Alexander Pope also says that the proper study of mankind is man in the Aswan Man. And in Gulliver Travel also we see the human irrationality. In the secular humanism, we see that there is the ethics. It believes on the ethics without religion, rationality, and the scientific approach without the religion. And same is seen in the Middlemarch and the Dover Beach. In Marxist humanism, we see that there is the alienated labor, and that is suppressed and subjugated by the proletariats, by the higher class and the capitalists. And we see that Marxist believes that it is impossible to achieve that the unique human or the dignified human being because of these all disparities and discrimination in the society. And same we see in the hard time and the grapes of wrath. In the existential philosophy and existential humanism, again we see that there is a existential fear, and human existence precedes the essence, and we see that it is free but anxious. And the same is seen in The Stranger by Albert Camus and the Godot by Samuel Beckett. In the liberal humanism, we see that there is the universal subjectivity, and it is presented in King Lear and the Pride and Prejudice. And the post-human subjectivity or the post-human humanism, which decentered the hybridity, and then it is represented in Never Let Me Go and RUR. So on the basis of all these discussions, we can conclude that across these forms, literature acts not merely as illustration, but as a testing ground for humanist ideas. And Renaissance believes that the human is glorious. Enlightenment believes that human is rational. Marxist believes that human is oppressed. Existential believes that human is burdened. Liberal believes that humans are universal, and posthuman believes that human is unstable. So this trajectory reveals a profound shift that from celebrating the human to questioning whether the human is a stable or sufficient category at all. That then we see that there are different forms and definitions of the human being which we must remember. So I hope that you enjoyed this whole lecture, and hoping to continue with another amazing topic. So till then, take care.